Good morning. We'll call the regular council meeting of January 10th, 2024 to order. Happy New Year, everyone. Please, if you have your cell phones there, could you please turn them to vibrate or silent as to not interrupt. If anyone is coming forward to speak to the center podium, the microphone will be turned on. Please note that council meetings are being live streamed and recorded and retained. All personal information collected will be managed in accordance with the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And we'll begin with introductions. We appear to be a couple short. We'll start with Christopher.
Good morning, Christopher Ashton. I'm Director of Legislative, Community and Agricultural Services.
Good morning, Margareta Bloom, Director for Planning and Development Services.
Good morning, Jeff Holmes, Chief Administrative Officer.
Morning, Greg Harris, Division 2.
Good morning, Division. I'm Jennifer Lutz, Division 7.
Good morning, Alan Miller, Division 3.
Good morning, Dwayne Fulton, Division 1 Councillor and Deputy Reeve, and I'll chair this meeting.
Good morning, Peggy Johnson, Division 6.
Morning, Gord Krebs, Division 4.
Good morning, Laura Campmans, Executive Assistant.
Good morning, Rayanne Pohl, Planning Technician.
Morning, Jessica Ross, Assistant Director of Planning and Development. Good morning, Shelley French, Communications Coordinator.
Division 5, Angela Elbers and Reeve is unable to attend today. So we have item 2.1, adoption of the agenda. Someone make a motion to Councillor Lutz.
I move we adopt the agenda as presented.
All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Adoption of the minutes. 3.1, adoption of the regular council meeting minutes of December 13th, 2023. Councillor Harris. So move as presented. All in favor? That's carried. We'll move on to 4.1. Bylaw 1823. Being a bylaw of Mountain View County in the province of Alberta to amend land use bylaw 2121 affecting Northeast 1633-7 west of the 5th pursuant to the Municipal Government Act. The Council of Mountain View County duly assembled and enacts the bylaw 2121 to be amended as follows. To redesignate from agricultural district A to A2 district A2 an approximate 13.23 acres in the northeast quarter section of 1633 range 7 west of the 5th meridian as outlined in Schedule A attached. This received first reading on November 15th, 2023. So I will open the public hearing and ask planning for their presentation.
Thank you. The presentation begins on page 28 of the agenda. The applicant is Jeff Bell and the landowner is Roxanne Bell. The application is proposing to redesignate an approximate 13.23 acres from Agricultural District A to Agricultural 2 District A2. The subsequent subdivision application seeking to create the third title from this quarter section as a fragmented parcel. This slide shows the location map. The subject lands are located along Range Road 73 in the rural neighborhood of Bearberry Coal Camp, approximately 25 kilometers west of the town of Sundre. This map shows the Figure 3 land use policy areas map from the Bearberry Red Deer River Corridor Area Structure Plan and shows that the proposed parcel is within the potential multi-lot residential development area of the ASP. This next slide shows the Figure 3 growth management conceptual strategy map from the municipal development plan and also shows that the proposed parcels within the potential multi-lot residential development area. This slide shows the redesignation site sketch. The application is proposing to redesignate an approximate 13.23 acres from Agricultural District A to Agricultural District 2. You can see that the proposed parcel is fragmented from the balance of the quarter due to Range Road 73. There's also been an agricultural parcel that was previously subdivided in the quarter's southwest corner. This slide is the surrounding land use map and shows that the subject quarter is surrounded by agricultural zone land. One of the neighboring quarters is currently unsubdivided. 5 have 2 titles, 1 has 3 titles, and 1 has 4 titles. This is an oil and gas facilities map and shows that the subject quarter only contains 1 abandoned well site. Surrounding the subject quarter, the closest facilities to the proposal are well and battery site, which are well removed, being located over 500 meters to the east. Existing oil and gas facilities should have a minimal impact on the proposal. This is a topography and water map of the area. According to AgriSid, the landform model for the quarter is mostly considered hummocky, low relief. Looking closer at the subject quarter, you can see that the subject lands generally slope down, moving to the northeast. Temple Creek bisects the northwest corner of the subject quarter. The proposal appears relatively flat, but generally slopes down to the east and northeast. This next slide shows an environmental scan map for the area. According to the provincial Fiero report, the quarters to the northwest, northeast, and east have been identified as containing environmentally significant lands. There's also an ESA area within the subject quarter that is considered to have low environmental significance. According to Alberta Merged Wetland Inventory data, the proposed parcel, as well as lands within the quarter to the east, may contain a fen. Looking closer at the subject quarter, you can see that the ESA area surrounds the forested lands that are mostly located within the west portion of the subject quarter. The proposed parcel is outside of the identified ESA areas. The application states that the proposed parcel does not appear to have the same characteristics as the wetland area further to the east and mostly contains dry brush. A review of available soil information shows that the subject quarter does contain soils with some limitations for agriculture, mostly due to temperature or drainage. The soils with the greatest limitations surround the forested areas. The subject quarter has historically been used as pasture land. The proposed parcel also contains lands with lower agricultural capabilities. However, the application states that the landowner was unaware that this fragmented portion of the quarter was part of the same title until recently, and that this area has not been used together with the proposed remainder for at least 30 years. Although the proposed parcel is less than 40 acres, the applicant outlined that it could be used for a small number of livestock and also had the potential for other uses that include tree farm or agricultural support services, among other uses. The proposal contains brush and grasses with a mature section of trees. A review of historical aerial images shows that the way that the land has been used has not changed, and the proposed fragmented parcel has remained in a natural state. This is a site dimension sketch showing the proposed fragmented parcel to the east of Range Road 73, and that there's Fortis power poles located immediately east of the proposed parcel. This next slide shows existing development within the proposed remainder, which consists of a dwelling, a barn, paddocks, a gazebo, a few sheds, a sea can, and 4 RVs. During the review of this application, the applicant was asked to clarify the use of the gazebo and the RVs, and the applicant confirmed that the gazebo is used when on site and the RVs are being stored on the property. The applicant's response has been included as an attachment. This next slide shows views of the proposed remainder and shows the farmland along the west side of Range Road 73, and you can see that this area has been used as pasture land. This slide shows the views of the proposal in relation to Range Road 73. Photo A was taken south of the proposal, which you can see on the right-hand side of the Range Road. This is where the township road connects to the development within the proposed remainder. Photo B was taken from the north side of the proposed parcel, and you can see the Range Road completely fragments the proposal from the rest of the quarter. This next slide shows some views of the proposal area. Photo A is looking at the brushland near the north portion of the proposal, and photo B is looking at the areas within the proposal that may be more suitable for potential future development, as this area appears somewhat more elevated. This slide shows access and sightlines to the proposed remainder. The images on the left side show access and sightlines to the farmstead that is accessed from Township Road 332A. The images on the right side show access and sightlines from Range Road 73. It should be noted that the county's Operational Services Department were notified about the proposal, as the Range Road was identified as being less than 6.5 meters wide and is curved along the proposal's boundaries. Operational Services responded that the road would be acceptable to provide access to the proposed lot, and access and sightlines seem to be of no concern. This slide reviews some of the policies from the municipal development plan. These subject lands are within the potential multi-lot residential development area, which is a policy area that may consider a maximum of 4 titles per quarter. The proposal is seeking to create the 3rd title for the quarter and complies with the MDP's Growth Management Strategy Figure 3. The proposed parcel is smaller than the preferred parcel size of 40 acres. However, policy 337 may allow for smaller fragmented agricultural parcels. The proposed parcel may be considered for subdivision as an agricultural 2 district A2 lot. Policy 3320 provides the criteria to consider a fragmented parcel, which the proposal is able to meet. It contains an area that would be suitable for potential future development. It can obtain legal and physical access to a county road. The remaining agricultural uses on the proposed remainder wouldn't be impacted, and the proposed parcel is of a sufficient size to provide for future water well and septic system. Because the proposed parcel would be considered the 2nd parcel removed from the quarter and is less than 39.5 acres, it would be subject to municipal reserve in accordance with the Municipal Government Act. Administration recommends cash in lieu for municipal reserve, which would be calculated as the value of 10% of the land being subdivided and would become a condition of subdivision should this application be approved. The ASP supports the creation of new agricultural parcels that are fragmented from the balance of the quarter, providing that the application meets the policies for number of allowable titles and that it meets the number of dwellings allowed within a quarter section, which the proposal is able to comply with. The ASP may allow for a variety of agricultural uses, providing that the use is compatible with the natural environment. Although the proposed parcel may be along the outer edge of a wetland, there is a suitable area for development that does not appear to be within a wetland, and the proposed parcel is located outside of any identified ESA areas. The application states that the proposed parcel does not appear to have the same characteristics as the wetland areas further to the east and contains dry brush. In reviewing the proposal against the guidelines for fragmented parcels, the proposal meets the listed criteria according to the procedure. Historical aerial images show that the proposal has not been used together with the proposed remainder. The fragmenting feature is Range Road 73, which completely separates the proposal from the remainder. Should the application be approved, the proposal would be able to establish legal and physical access to a developed county road. Administration can support a resolution of approval for this proposal. The proposal is within the parameters described in the Municipal Development Plan, the Bearberry Red Deer River Corridor Area Structure Plan, and the Land Use Bylaw. There were no letters of objection or concern that were received from referral agencies or adjacent landowners. The proposal also meets the requirements for fragmented parcels. That concludes my presentation, and the applicant is available if you have further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does the applicant have any new or additional information they'd like to provide? No, the applicant waives. Okay, so anyone in the gallery or online in favor of this application? Anyone in the gallery online opposed to this application? All right, I guess we'll move on. Does the applicant have any closing comments? Okay, well, sorry, yeah, just have a seat. We're just a little out of order here. So, council, do we have any questions for planning or the applicant? Councillor Johnson?
Just a question for planning. The strip of roadway that this abandons or it kind of maroons if it's if this passes, what are the options for that narrow strip of land on the east side of this proposal?
So this is just an undeveloped road allowance. If the landowners wanted to proceed, they could request to have it closed. It's unlikely that it would be developed for the road given the location of Range Road 73 currently.
So if they applied, a second decision could be made to do something with this marooned strip of land.
It would be required to go through the approval process, but that could be something that the landowners consider, I guess, in the future.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Counselor Krebs?
I guess to administration, just curiosity got the better of me. What was the road put there in the first place instead of going straight through? Do we have any ideas? I mean, it's been there forever, but.
So through the chair, we can assume, given that the layout of the land, that the forced road went around basically the topography of that particular quarter section to the east.
Yeah, it just looked pretty flat on the picture, so but it's there, so.
Yeah, historically, I would assume, yeah.
Counselor Johnson?
So kind of a follow-up question to that. When I look at the photo on page 45, it does look like this is a marshy area. I wondered at the development stage if it would be possible to include a condition that some of this wetland remain in its present state. Wetlands have a pretty important job as far as recharge of the aquifer. And so would that condition be considered?
So through the chair, relative to developing the site, so it's obviously a use within the district that it would be allowed to have a dwelling. The perception of putting a dwelling on the property would be to create minimal impact on the entire parcel. There's the ability to note that there is a wetland per se, or whatever the nature of the land is, geographic nature of the land is. To protect is kind of a challenge at the development permit stage, but it's expected that there would be, some form of acknowledgement of the current land state at that time as well. So there isn't an ability to place like a development agreement or restrictive covenant at that time on it, but it'll be something that will be reviewed at the time of application.
Any further
So-
questions?
So through the chair, we have a standard condition 13 that looks after the protection of wetlands through evaluation. So again, that could be considered at the subdivision stage, but if council can have the opportunity to make a motion to recommend to the subdivision authority to consider condition 13.
Another question?
So do I understand properly, Margareta, that if we want that considered, we need to include it as a motion?
So again, if you want to have additional protection other than the consideration of condition 13, that is a standard condition that will be considered by the subdivision authority, our recommendation would be that council make that motion.
Okay, but that is a standard condition.
Condition 13 is a standard condition that will be considered. And if you are going to make a motion, our recommendation would be after the public hearing.
Okay, any other questions, comments? All right. Okay, applicant have any closing statements now? Sorry. Please step forward there and state and spell your name for the record, please.
Thanks. Good morning, council. Thanks, Ryan. Just closing statements. We became aware that it was a part of one of our contiguous quarters earlier this year, or sorry, about the middle of last year, I should say. It is new year. And with that, we thought, okay, well, this hasn't been used we haven't used it for 30 years. We don't use it in our grazing, in our cattle grazing operation at all. And we thought it would provide for a very accessible, separate titled lot for either one of our family or another family if we sell it down the road, that is a little more smaller, a little more accessible and affordable compared to a larger quarter. So that's kind of one of the only other things I would add.
Thank you. Could you just state and spell your name for the record?
Sure.
please?
Jeff Bell, Jeffbell.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Planning, do you have any closing comments?
No, I do not. Thank you.
With that, I will close the public hearing and look for a motion. Motions are on page 9. Councillor Harris,
I'll move the council give second reading to bylaw LU 18/23, redesignating the lands within the northeast of 1633-7 west of the 5th.
thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Councillor Harris,
I'll move the council give third reading to bylaw LU 18/23, redesignating the lands within the northeast of 1633-7 west of the 5th.
thank you. Discussion? No, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 4.2, bylaw number LU 1923, being a bylaw of Mountain View County in the province of Alberta to amend land use bylaw 2121 affecting the northeast 2333-4 west of the 5th pursuant to the Municipal Government Act. The Council of Mountain View County duly assembled enacts that bylaw 2121 be amended as follows: to redesignate it from agricultural A to residential farmstead district, an approximate 11.49 acres in the northeast 2333-4 west of the 5th, as outlined in Schedule A attached hereto. This received first reading November 29th, 2023. I will open the public hearing and ask planning for their presentation.
Thank you. The applicant is Ken Taylor and the landowners are Edward and Barbara Jans. The application is proposing to redesignate an approximate 11.49 acres from Agricultural District A to Residential Farmstead District. This map is a location map and shows that the subject lands are within the rural neighborhood of Eagle Hill, Westward Ho, approximately 19 kilometers northeast from the town of Sundre. This slide shows the Figure 3 Growth Management Conceptual Strategy map of the MDP and shows that the subject lands are within the agricultural preservation area. This is the redesignation site sketch. The application is proposing to redesignate an approximate 11.49 acres to residential farmstead district surrounding a developed farmstead site. The subsequent subdivision application is seeking to create the first parcel out from the quarter. This slide is the surrounding land use map and shows that the subject quarter is mostly surrounded by agricultural zone land. 4 of the neighboring quarter sections are currently unsubdivided and 4 contain 2 titles. There is a residential zone lot in the quarter to the southwest. This is an oil and gas facilities map and shows that oil and gas facilities are concentrated in the quarters to the west and northeast. Within the subject quarter, there is 1 natural gas pipeline, 1 well, and 1 battery site. However, all are well removed from the proposal. During the circulation process, the necessary oil and gas facility operators were notified and no comments of conditions or concern were received. Existing oil and gas facilities should have a minimal impact on the proposal. This is a topography and water map for the area. According to AgriSid, the landform for the area is considered undulating high relief. Looking closer at the subject quarter, you can see that it appears relatively flat, but naturally drains to the north and northeast. During the site visit, it was noted that the proposal appears relatively flat with little topographic relief. This is an environmental scan map and shows that there are no environmentally significant areas within or surrounding the subject quarter. There are also no identified streams or wetlands near the proposal. Given that the proposal contains a developed farmstead and the manner in which the land is being used is not intended to change, the proposal should have a minimal impact on the surrounding environment. This slide reviews soil information, and you can see that although there are relatively productive agricultural soils, some areas have greater limitations for agriculture due to drainage or soil pH. Much of the quarter has been cultivated, having soils that are considered fairly good to good arable. However, the areas in the north portion of the quarter appear to contain soils with the greatest limitations and are within the wooded areas. The proposal contains soils that have a farmland assessment rating that ranges from 9% to 52.9%. This slide shows the site dimension sketch showing the proposed parcel in the quarter's northeast corner. The north portion of the proposal contains forest land, while all of the farmstead development is located within the south portion of the proposed parcel. The proposed south boundary is south of an existing access, while the west boundary is located just west of a barn. This slide looks at historical aerial images of the subject quarter, and you can see existing development within the proposal has been in existence for more than 10 years, and the manner in which the land has been used over this time has not changed. This slide shows the existing development within the proposal, which consists of a dwelling, a barn, a few sheds, and a greenhouse, and the proposed remainder contains an animal shelter. The images on this slide show the approximate location of the proposal south boundary. Photo A was taken south of the proposal, and photo B was taken from the proposal's access looking to the west. And you can see the proposed south boundary is located just south of this access, which has also been fenced. The images on this slide show some additional views of the proposal's boundaries. Photo A was taken south of the proposal, and photo B shows the approximate location of the proposal's west boundary. The applicants wanted to ensure that there would be the necessary setback from the barn while leaving the most amount of farmland within the remainder of the quarter. The images on this slide show the views of the balance of the quarter. Photo A is looking to the southwest, while photo B is south of the proposal looking to the west. And you can see that the quarter has mostly been used for cultivation, but has also been used as pasture. This slide shows access and sightlines to the proposal and the balance of the quarter. The images on the left side shows access to the proposal, while the right side shows the access to the proposed remainder, which is located south of the proposal. Sightlines seem to be of no concern, and you can see the proposal already has a rural address sign. The proposal was evaluated against the policies of Section 3 of the Municipal Development Plan, Agricultural Land Use Policies, as the proposal would be considered the first parcel from this unsubdivided quarter section. The subject lands are located within the agricultural preservation area and is a policy area that can consider a maximum of 2 titles for the quarter, which the proposal complies with. The proposal meets the requirements for MDP policies to consider farmsteads, as it contains an established residential site and buildings that have been used in connection with the farming operation and meets the definition for farmstead. The proposal is located in the quarter's northeast corner and does not include any cultivated lands and should have a minimal impact on the agricultural operations taking place within the proposed remainder. The farmstead has also been in existence for more than 10 years, and the proposal would be considered the first parcel removed from the and the proposed remainder is intended to continue existing agricultural operations. Although the proposal is slightly larger than the recommended parcel size of 2 to 9 acres, policy 3311 allows for larger lots to be considered to include shelter belts, ancillary buildings, and land required to provide physical access. The proposal south boundary follows an established access, while the west boundary is located just west of the barn and paddocks. The proposal also encompasses forested land within the northeast corner of the quarter that could not be practically managed with the balance of the quarter. Administration can support a resolution of approval for this proposal. The proposal is within the parameters described in the Municipal Development Plan and the Land Use Bylaw. There were no letters of objection or concern that were received from adjacent landowners or referral agencies. That concludes my presentation, and the applicant is available if you have further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any new or additional information?
Whoops, things are falling apart here. There we are. Ken Taylor, representing the Janses. They weren't able to be here today because of the weather. Basically, I believe Rayanne has covered it very, very well. The size of the parcel is, as they indicated, slightly larger than the 9 acres. However, the trees in the north east corner are large spruce trees, and that has never been a cultivated area, and so therefore it's been included in their farmstead. And so with that, that was the application. We tried to minimize the size by cutting off that southwest corner, which was if we'd have squared it out, it would have made another ½ acre or slightly better. So with that, we've only taken in the land that's actually in the farmstead. So with that, we would ask that you support it. I would answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I guess we'll do is there anyone in the gallery or online that would like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to speak or online that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, seeing none. Council questions? No questions, I guess. Okay, any closing comments there, Ken, while you're
That's everything. Thank you.
administration, any?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing and look for a motion. Alan, Councilor Miller,
I would, I would move the council give second reading to bylaw LU 19/23, redesignate the lands within Northeast 2333-4 west of the 5th.
any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Alan, Councilor Miller, sorry.
I'd also move the council give third reading to bylaw LU 19/23, redesignate the lands within Northeast 2333-4 west of the 5th.
Any discussion? No. I'll call the question, all in favor? The motion is passed. All right, we'll move on to item 4.3. Bylaw LU 2023, being a bylaw of Mountain View County in the province of Alberta to amend land use bylaw 2121 affecting the southwest 34-31-1 west of the 5th pursuant to the Municipal Government Act. The Council of Mountain View County duly assembled enacts that bylaw 2121 be amended as follows: to redesignate from agricultural A to residential farmstead district an approximate 13.83 acres in the southwest 34-31-1 west of the 5th as outlined on Schedule A attached hereto. This received first reading December 13th, 2023. And I'll open the public hearing and ask planning for their presentation.
Thank you. The applicants and landowners are Lee and Wilma Poshapsky, and the application is proposing to redesignate an approximate 13.83 acres from Agricultural District A2 Residential Farmstead District. This map is the location map and shows that the subject lands are within the rural neighborhood of Rosebud, approximately 3 kilometers east of the county office. The Figure 3 Growth Management Conceptual Strategy map of the MDP shows that the subject lands are within the agricultural preservation area. This shows the redesignation site sketch. The application is seeking to redesignate an approximate 13.83 acres to residential farmstead district, and the subsequent subdivision application is seeking to create the first parcel out from this quarter. This slide shows the surrounding land use map. The subject quarter is surrounded by agricultural zone land. All of the neighboring quarter sections are currently unsubdivided. This is an oil and gas facilities map and shows that facilities are concentrated in the quarters to the north and east. Within the subject quarter, there are 2 HVP products pipelines and 1 abandoned well, which are well removed, being over 180 meters from the proposal. There are also some sour gas pipelines to the north and east of the proposal, but there are no concerns as these are located over 740 meters from the dwelling within the proposal. During the circulation process, the necessary oil and gas facility operators were notified and no comments of conditions or concern were received. Existing oil and gas facilities should have a minimal impact on the proposal. This is a topography and water map for the area, and according to AgriSid, the landform model is considered undulating high relief. Looking closer at the subject quarter, you can see that it mostly appears relatively flat, but naturally drains to the west into a coulee area, which runs along the west side of the quarter, west of the proposal. Within the coulee, there is an unclassified creek. During the site visit, it was noted that the creek appeared to be seasonal in nature. This slide reviews available soil information, and you can see the majority of the quarter has productive agricultural lands and only has slight limitations. The soils with the lowest agricultural capabilities appear to be located in the coulee area west of the proposal. This is an environmental scan map and shows that there are no environmentally significant areas within the subject quarter. According to the provincial Fiera report, the quarters to the west have been identified as containing environmentally significant lands. Looking closer at the subject quarter, you can see that according to Alberta Merged Wetland Inventory data, there may be wetland areas within the coulee and in the northeast area of the quarter. The proposal is located outside of any potential wetland or ESA areas. This slide shows a site dimension sketch showing the proposed parcel in the quarter's northwest corner. The proposal's east, south, and west boundaries follow established shelter belts. All of the cultivated lands have remained within the proposed remainder of the quarter. The proposal was configured to include the access to Range Road 13 while leaving the farm access immediately to the south within the proposed remainder. This would allow farm equipment to access the farm field that surrounds the farmstead without having to cross the coulee, as there's sufficient space between the proposal's west boundary and the coulee to accommodate this. This slide looks at historical aerial images of the quarter, and you can see development within the proposal has been in existence for more than 10 years, and the manner with which the land's being used hasn't changed over this time. The images on this slide show the approximate locations of the proposal's south and east boundaries. Photo A was taken in the proposal's northeast corner and shows the east boundary is just east of a shelter belt, while the north boundary runs along the north quarter section boundary. Photo B was taken from the proposal's southeast corner and also follows along well-established shelter belts. The images on this slide show some additional views of the approximate location of the proposal's boundaries. Photo A was taken near the proposal's access looking to the south, and you can see how the west boundary follows the shelter belt and runs along the east side of the coulee. Photo B was taken south of the farmstead looking to the northeast, and you can see how the proposal is elevated above the coulee. The applicants wanted to make sure that there would be sufficient space between the proposal and the coulee for farm equipment to access the larger agricultural field. The images from this slide show views from the balance of the quarter. Photo A is looking to the east, while photo B was taken from the range road and shows the field in the southwest corner that's cut off from the larger field due to the coulee. And you can see most of the quarter has been used for cultivation. Development within the proposal consists of 2 dwellings, 2 machine storage buildings, several sheds, a storage shed, a small day use building, and a few grain bins. The older dwelling appears to have been a farm building that was converted to a residential use around 1982, while the second dwelling was constructed in 1997. During the site visit, it was noted that there were 2 structures within the proposal's boundaries near the pond area, one of which appeared to be recreational. Planning reached out to the applicants to confirm the use of these buildings, and the applicant confirmed that one structure has been used as storage and as an outhouse, while the second structure is a day use building that the family used when gathering near the pond. The correspondence with the applicants has been included as an attachment to this report. This slide shows access and sightlines to the proposal and the balance of the quarter. The images on the left side show access to the proposal, while the right side shows access to the proposed remainder, which is located south of the proposal. During the circulation process, Mountain View County's Operations Department was asked to complete a non-conforming road inspection as Range Road 13 was identified as being less than 7 meters wide. And operational services confirmed that the road would be acceptable to access the proposed parcel. Sightlines seem to be of no concern, and you can see that the proposal already has a rural address sign posted. The proposal was evaluated against the municipal development plan policies within section 3.0 agricultural land use policies, as the proposal would be considered the first parcel out from this unsubdivided quarter. The proposal is considering the creation of a second title for the quarter and complies with the rules for parcels located within the agricultural preservation area. The proposal meets the requirements for farmsteads according to the MDP. The proposal contains an established residential site and consists of buildings that have been used in connection with the farming operations. The proposal does not include any of the cultivated lands and should have a minimal impact on agricultural operations taking place within the proposed remainder. The farmstead has been in existence for more than 10 years, and the proposed remainder is intended to continue existing agricultural operations. The proposal is slightly larger. However, policy 3311 allows for larger lots when including shelter belts, ancillary buildings, and land required to provide physical access. The proposal's east, south, and west boundaries follow long-established shelter belts and includes all the farm development, while the proposed remainder contains all the cultivated lands. Access to the proposed remainder should be of no concern, as there's an existing farm access to the south from the Range Road and will remain within the proposed remainder. Although the proposal contains two dwellings, the older dwelling from 1982 did not require a development permit when it was constructed. Residential farmstead district lots may have up to two dwelling units if the approving authority deems the second dwelling legal non-conforming. The proposal complies with the dwelling density requirements and can be considered for redesignation. Administration can support a resolution of approval for this proposal. The proposal is within the parameters described in the municipal development plan and the land use bylaw. There were also no letters of objection or concern that were received from adjacent landowners or referral agencies. That concludes my presentation, and the applicant is available if you have further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any new or additional information? Okay, the applicant has nothing to add at this moment. Okay, anyone in the gallery online like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone in the gallery would like to speak in opposition or online speak up in opposition to this application? Seeing none, council questions? No, I don't see any questions. Do you have any closing comments, applicant? Applicant has no closing comments. Planning, do you have any closing comments?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll close the public hearing and look for a motion. Councilor Krebs?
I move that council give second reading to bylaw number LU 2023, redesignating the lands within Southwest 343115.
Discussion? No, I'll call a question. All in favor? Councilor Krebs?
Move that council give third reading to bylaw number LU 2023, redesignating the lands within Southwest 343115.
Thank you. Any discussion? No, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. Next is delegations. We have two delegations, one at 11:30 and then one at 1 p.m. So we will move on to section 6 bylaws. First one is bylaw 2923, procedure and conduct of council meetings, and I'll ask Christopher for comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we will jump to page 133 of your agenda package. This is bylaw number 2923, the procedure and conduct of council meetings. It received first and second reading on December 13th, 2023. As previously alluded to, this is relative to external participation by electronic sources. We've updated the bylaw to reflect current practice and to highlight that although electronic participation is a valuable tool, it remains a convenience. For convenience purposes, it's not guaranteed every meeting, just due to the reality that there are the potential for errors to occur during that broadcast. So it has received second reading. It is looking for third reading for council today.
Questions or comments? If not, I'll look for a motion. Councilor Lutz.
I move that council grant third reading to bylaw number 2923, procedure and conduct of council meetings.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Move on to 6.2. Bylaw LU 0124. Looking for a motion. Councilor Harris.
I'll move the council give first reading to bylaw LU 01/24, redesignating the lands within the southwest of 831-5 west of the 5th.
Thank you. Any discussion? No, call the question. All in favor? Councilor Harris.
I'll further move the council set the public hearing for bylaw LU 0124, redesignating the lands within the southwest of 831-5 west of the 5th for February 14th, 2024 at or after 9 a.m.
Thank you. Any discussion? No, call the question. All in favor? That is carried. We'll move on to 6.3. Bylaw LU 0224. Looking for a motion. Councillor Krebs,
I move the council give first reading to bylaw LU 0224, redesignating the lands within the Southwest 313345.
thank you. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Councillor Krebs,
Move the council set the public hearing for bylaw number LU 0224, redesignating the lands within the Southwest 313345 for February 14th, 2024 at or after 9 a.m.
thank you. I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. That is carried. We'll move on to 7.1 directives. Jeff, CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 161 is the updated directives for council's information. Just a few updates since the last meeting in December at the bottom of the page. Other than that, the items earlier on the page remain largely unchanged. So if there's any questions from council, I would take those now.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion to Councillor Johnson.
I would move that council receive the council directives as information with appropriate action to be taken.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? That is carried. We'll move on to new business 9.1. Upper Red Deer River Hazard Study updates and planning and development.
Thank you. So through the chair, it starts on page 162. So we are just providing an update on the provincial Upper Red Deer River Hazard Study. So what is included in the report is kind of the updates that have happened since council made a motion back in 2001 to defer any policy and land use bylaw amendments as it relates to flood hazard areas. So the province has now released the floodway and the flood fringe mapping, and there is also opportunity for the public to provide feedback until February 12th. We are bringing this forward as an information item. We also share the links to the mapping as well as the survey that the province is doing on our website. So what we are asking today for council is just to receive this as information and then to provide us direction to bring forward options for those policy amendments in the municipal development plan and the land use bylaw after the study is finalized. Again, the province has not given us any confirmed dates of when they will finalize it, but their indication is after their public engagement, the second public engagement in February, they will look to finalize the study.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Councillor Johnson?
Are you anticipating, Margaretta, that as policies are created, that the policies for the high hazard flood fringe will be different than just for the flood fringe? I thought it was real interesting in this study that they've differentiated between the two.
Yes, so the two additional areas within the flood fringe. So again, the protected area, which are areas protected by existing features such as berms and other protection measures, as well as the high hazard flood fringe areas are two new areas. So those aren't definitions that we have contemplated previously in our land use bylaw or in any of our policies. And that will be a decision up to council to decide how those two areas are to be treated as flood fringe, or if there are different criteria that's to be applied within those areas.
Further questions, comments? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I got a quick one. Right?
Oh, sorry, Councillor Krebs.
Margaret, the public input part of this, does the provincial government get a hold of the people that are directly affected by this, or how do they know that this study is out to give their comments back?
So no, the province doesn't, for example, like when we notify surrounding landowners, we'll write them letters The province does not do that. They take the approach that they publicly share all of this information and people should be aware of it. They also work with us in order for using our channels to help communicate to residents within affected municipalities.
So how big of a issue would it be for our administration to make sure these people know that this study's out? I mean, how many people, do the people in the red areas realize that it's out?
So as you can see in the report, this study has started, I do believe, in 2019. So there have been a first round of engagement. Again, whenever we have the opportunity to share information, we do. As we go through the process of the South McDougall Flats Area Structure Plan, we've also kept landowners informed of it. So that's at this point what we've done. Again, on our website, we've communicated it too, but we have not sent out letters to any of our landowners.
Okay, but on our website, we'll have a message out to them that this study is done. You have up till this date to respond to it. Okay,
Yes, we do have all of those links.
thanks.
Councillor Johnson?
So in that regard, would it be difficult to include a short article in the newspaper as well? Because I think I agree with Councillor Krebs. I think it's important that the people that are going to be affected are aware of the change. So could we include a short article in the paper that includes the link? Not that you can make the link from the paper, but at least people would know where to go.
Yes, we can certainly provide some links. I also want to mention, again, before council made that motion in 2021, we had a dedicated open house in Division 5, particularly to share the information that was at that time available, which was the inundation maps, which was a combination of floodway and flood fringe. So again, people, in McDougall Flats had the opportunity, as well as anybody else, to attend that open house. It was a while back, but we have engaged particularly residents to share information with them.
So do we need a motion to propose an article in the paper, or is just the suggestion adequate?
Yeah, I think the suggestion from council is adequate, Councillor Johnson, unless there's very specific things council wants. But we will endeavor to put it in our newspaper print. We have, as Margaretta mentioned, we've done a lot of communications on behalf of the province as this process has worked its way through. But more certainly is a good idea as well.
All right, any other comments? If not, I'll look for a motion. Councillor Miller?
I would move the council receive as information the draft flood hazard map and direct administration to bring forward options to amend the municipal development plan and land use bylaw after the study is finalized.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Move on to 9.2, endorsement time extension. Planning.
Thank you. So this is on page 167 of your agenda. This is an older redesignation and subdivision file from 2016. So the process that occurred, they received redesignation approval. After that, subdivision approval, which are typically subject to the conditions and 1 year to meet those conditions. They proceeded to request a time extension of that 1 year time frame and was granted. So what occurs is then once all of the conditions are met, we provide the subdivision authority approval that goes with all of the instruments, if there are any to be registered, including the plan of survey to be registered at land titles. That process must conclude within 1 year from us giving that subdivision approval. If there are any extensions to that 1 year time frame, the Municipal Government Act requires that that request must be approved by council. So this is in front of you today. The applicant's reason for that is included in the request as attachment 1. But we are recommending that extension be granted by council, and we shall then issue a new time extension, which will allow 1 additional year for them to deal with the estate and to get the registration at land titles.
Thank you. Comments, questions, or a motion? Councillor Krebs?
Yeah, I move the council approve the endorsement time extension for file number PLRDSD 20160325 for 1 year until January 10th, 2025, and direct administration to provide a new subdivision authority approval.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
Just a question for planning. Margaret, do we have any idea of how far back or how far land titles is backed up?
I can quickly check on their website, but I think they are just under 2 months. I'll quickly check.
Okay, I was just, my concern was earlier, there was talk of over a year, so I was just concerned that if a year is going to be enough for these people, if land titles is really badly backed up.
So we've just checked, it's they're now registering December 14th submissions. So they have dealt with the backlog. So I'm confident that they can deal with it within
Okay,
1
thank
year.
you.
Further discussion? Councillor Miller?
I would be in favor of allowing the time extension, realizing this is one of the heaviest impacted properties in the county with the tornado that happened July 1st. So just to state that I'm in favor of it.
All right. No further comments and questions. We'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Move on to 9.3, procedure number 401701. Operations. Sorry, CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve. I'll cover this on behalf of Operational Services as they are not with us today. This is our annual discussion with council on our land acquisition and disturbance for road construction policy and procedure. We annually bring this to council for council to confirm the dollar amount that we will pay when acquiring land for road projects, culverts. Typically, it's small pieces of land that we need to acquire to do our infrastructure work. And in collaboration with the assessment department, Operational Services is recommending increasing the rate that we would purchase land from $5,000 an acre up to $5,300 an acre for the 2024 construction season.
Okay, thank you. Comments, questions? Councillor Johnson?
Just a question. I see that we do this annually. I think that's a good thing. I think I am in favor of it, but I'm curious. If we go back something like 5 years, because I see this was amended in 2019. What kind of a change has there been in the last 5 years? What was it 5 years ago? I'm kind of thinking about a percentage change in the last 5 years.
We would have to dig that up. We will have that information. Christopher will probably pull it up here. It is driven by sales and market value, so it's not related to inflation or consumer price index or anything like that. From my recollection, the recommendation we have consistently brought forward to council is based on the sales data that our assessment department has seen throughout the year. And recognizing Mountain View County is a diverse municipality from east to west, there's a lot of differences. We do target kind of a general average value that covers the entire municipality. So certainly in some locations, we know market value is higher than in other locations within the county, but there is not a specific percentage that we look to escalate this. I think there has been a significant growth in market value for land in the last 5 years. I don't know if I've stalled long enough for Christopher. If he's still looking, we just have to dig back into the files and we can find that amount.
Councillor Lutz?
Yeah, I'm just thinking in my division, I don't think our landowners would be very happy with this one because land's over 10,000 in some situations. So if I were to have to forego land at that price, we wouldn't be happy, so I can't imagine other ratepayers being happy on that. So I don't know if you have any recommendation on negotiating with landowners instead of just setting a rate based on market value. If there's any other systems, so it's not just a blanket exercise, it just might be more fair. It's a pretty large county.
So I recall that kind of how we operate this procedure is this is our standard amount, and any deviations would require approval of council. So we have maybe had situations in the past, and typically it's a bigger issue when there's a major road project and we're taking a lot of land. If we're taking 0.1 of an acre for a culvert, it's generally not as big of an issue for landowners. But certainly this number is at council's discretion. I'll maybe ask Mike to make a few comments on how we analyze the numbers and how we come up with the number we did. But certainly if council feels it's not the appropriate value, that can be changed by council, and that's the purpose of this discussion today. Just to speak to Councillor Johnson's question, it looks like it was $4,000 in 2020. So it has increased a fair bit. And with that, maybe if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll ask Mike Krieger, our assessor, to speak to how he looks at the sales data that we have.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, if you're looking for a little more background information, every year operations looks to get some large parcel sales data. So basically we send them, this is 3 years worth of sales following our assessment sales date trend of July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2023. And it's 80+ acres throughout the county. So they just take the average amount throughout the entire county to come up with this number. I don't know if there's anything more specific you might be looking for, but that's just the general overall scope of where this number comes from.
So I have a question first. So when there a sale is like, it's irregardless if it's a private sale or a real estate sale, you are aware of the value that the land changed hands for?
Yeah, these come from land titles. So any transfer in title we get.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Miller?
Question for Jeff. Do we have an idea of traditionally what kind of volume of acres we might even be looking at per year? I guess it depends on the road projects, but it's not a really big thing, is it?
It does vary up and down. So we did have some major ones when we did the Acme Road project. So when we're doing a reconstruction road widening, it adds up to a few acres because we're doing several miles, and we probably need to add typically maybe an extra 30 feet to go from that 66 to 100 foot right away. You know, the Red Lodge Road, when we reconstructed it, similar type of thing, we would have acquired quite a bit of land. The Bergen Road, when we did that project, would have been major acquisitions for that. With current direction from council and current approved budgets where we're focusing on maintenance, we're not doing any enhancements to our road network. Really what I would foresee for this policy is application is acquiring work area around some culverts and bridge structures where we need a little bigger area to accommodate the updated bridge structures that we're working on and putting in. So acre wise, it's probably not a very big number.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Johnson?
So, sort of back to Councillor Lutz's concern, is there room for administration to negotiate with the landowner and bring it back then to council, and with this as a guide, if there is an issue for a particular road widening?
Yeah, so what we would do is our staff would engage the landowner, explain the project, make the request to acquire the land, show them the engineered plans, survey plans that are proposed, If the landowner says, yeah, that's not good enough, I require more, we would say we're not authorized to offer more. We would have to take that back to council. So we would have to come back to council and get direction.
Any other comments, questions? If not, look for a motion. Councillor Harris,
I'll move the recommendation.
thank you. Any more discussion? Not, we'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Move on to 9.4, oilfield bad debt. Who's gonna take that one?
So I will start with that one, Mr. Chairman. This is an annual process as well, where we have the ability to apply to the province for what is called the PERC and DIRC program to recover funds for the unpaid education requisition from largely oilfield properties. And so the recommendation on page 184 contains two components. The top component are companies that are still in operation but have not paid their education requisitions for 2023. So we are able to make an application to the province to get that money back. And then in the future, if that education tax is paid, then we have to do a reconciliation with the province and turn it over to them. So it's kind of a temporary adjustment, we'll say. The second motion are related to, I believe there's 5 companies with a total outstanding balance of $39,000. Those companies have gone through the bankruptcy process. There is no further hope of recovering any of those amounts from those companies. And so that's the second motion, is to write off those outstanding balances, and then those amounts will be reconciled as part of the PERC and DIRC application to the province and would be viewed as permanent losses or permanent recoverable taxes. So with that, is there any questions from council?
Councillor Johnson?
So is there some hope that that these existing companies listed in the first motion, that they will come through with their education tax? I mean, given all the discussion that we've had about how we hold their feet to the fire, are we being somewhat successful in that?
So certainly there's some chance, Councillor Johnson, but some of these companies probably it's unlikely we'll recover it. It's too early in the process to tell. It's not official that they've been declared non-operational and bankrupt. There have been some payments from some of these companies for past debts that we received in 2023. So there is some possibility, and that's why we're not asking council to formally write off any other tax amounts owing by any of those companies. That process would come down the road. If it was deemed unrecoverable, then you would look for those companies to be part of what we're looking at in that second motion, where council is actually writing off the outstanding tax amounts because we recognize they're unrecoverable. That's not what we're asking council for in the first motion here on this agenda item.
Thank you, Councillor Krebs.
So Jeff, the first motion, the bottom part says council will approve the tax levy and penalty cancellations. So we're not letting them off on the tax penalties, correct? Or
so
for those 5 that are still active?
There should be maybe a line of distinction there below Tallahassee, the bullet for Tallahassee. That's the stop for the first motion.
All right.
And then the second motion starts. And yes, we are writing off the interest penalties for the 5 companies that are bankrupt.
Right.
In the second motion.
But the 9 that are still going in the hopes we still might get their taxes, they're still going to get a tax penalty.
Correct. All of the penalties will still apply, and we will not ask council to write anything off until there's absolutely zero hope of recovery of any of the outstanding amounts.
Yeah, thanks.
Counselor Harris?
Yeah, what's the process for us for these companies? At what point do we notify AUC and or AER and monitor what they're doing and if they're applying for other licenses, et cetera?
So the new process is a quarterly update that we provide to the AER and Municipal Affairs. And we list the companies with outstanding amounts, and then in exchange, the changes to the legislation indicate that the AER is not supposed to grant any new licenses to those companies until their debts are paid. So those, I think it's 9 companies would be on the list that we provide to them. And then it's up to the AER and Municipal Affairs to follow through on their end of the deal and not issue any new licenses until those amounts are made current.
Okay, perfect.
And we update that quarterly.
Any further comments, questions? Counselor Lutz?
I'm kind of hearing Reeve Elber's voice in my head, but just what an improvement since prior years. So I think we got to recognize that. And I guess my new concern would be I think the AR could, I hope they're looking at who they're giving licenses to in the first place, that it's not just recycled. We'll start a new company with the same folks, because I think that process is something that they could look at next, that the board of directors is not just recycling. So I just wanted to thank administration for the work that they did on this, because I think those numbers look a lot better than what I understand were in previous years.
Okay, entertain a motions. Counselor Lutz?
Yeah, if I could move the first recommendation, just because there's a whole lot of names there, if that's sufficient, I would move that.
That's clear enough?
Yeah, that's satisfactory to administration. As long as council's happy with it, it would be the first recommendation on page 184 of the agenda.
Yeah, thank you. Any more discussion? Not, call the question. All in favor? That is passed. The second motion, please.
I can further move that council approve the tax levy and penalty cancellation with the effective date of December 31st, 2023 for the 9 property tax rolls for the total outstanding balance of 39,150.64 as per the agenda package.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. We'll move on to 9.5, Dinner of Distinction Sponsorship. Christopher?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Administration has received this information from Olds College for a new sponsorship opportunity where they are hosting a new type of event similar to the celebration of Alberta agriculture event that used to be hosted, with an increased focus on alumni, is being held for the first time on March 15th, 2024. And they have provided a range of sponsorship levels for council consideration, which are attached on page 187 through page 191, essentially, of your agenda package. So just seeking council's consideration if there is any interest in sponsoring, and if so, at what level.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Counselor Harris?
So I'm assuming in the background, it says has hosted fine events. Are we talking about 5 events?
No, they've defined these as their fine events. They host
Okay.
other events like Egg Smart, which aren't their fine awards events, I guess is the
So is
distinction.
Harvest Feast and the other ones, I'm just getting a sense that they're expanding the number of requests that we're gonna see, and as we saw last year, funds ran out kind of early in the year, so if this is an addition to what they've asked for in the past, I guess I'm a little reluctant to just keep upping the ante when there's so many other places that are asking for stuff in the county.
Any other comments, questions?
I can't understand from this, whether this is replacing some of our one or more of the traditional events, or whether this is in addition to. So would it be possible to clarify that before we make a decision?
Yeah, if you just give us 1 minute, we can confirm that. We do have some additional information that was provided.
I guess my question is, it doesn't indicate, like within the sponsorships, it indicates a number of tickets to attend, but if we were to go with a lower level and then required, would potentially buy additional tickets, it doesn't really indicate what additional tickets would be worth. Councillor Krebs?
I guess I just sort of like that 2 cents. To me, this is a government organization asking another government organization for funding. And I know we have to be a little careful. We're not spending our money. It's not like they're asking my business to donate. They're asking us to spend other people's money at the college. So I don't think I'm in favor of this.
Thank you. Any additional information?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So we have looked back into the information. It looks like it is replacing the Celebration of Alberta Ag, which hasn't been hosted for a couple of years. It looks like they're picking that back up and trying to expand on that specific event a little bit. It's my understanding that the Homestead Feast is still being hosted independently, which was turned into the Long Table event that they hosted 2 years ago as well. So I think the two fine events is kind of what I understand is they're looking to host moving forward.
Okay. Councillor, oh, sorry, Councillor Letts.
Yeah, I'm thinking that since the Mountain View County was a partner of the year in prior years, we should sponsor it at some level. And in past lives I've attended, I think the replacement of this and the networking is really good. It's always been a solid event. So I'd like to see us, I would recommend a gold sponsorship, unless we know that we can buy more tickets, but with 8 seats, then we could have our CAO and council would have an option of participating.
Would you like to make that a formal motion?
Before we do the motion, I was just wondering, given that our total budget is $10,000, I just thought the gold sponsorship is pretty lucrative, and I wondered if we might consider a bronze sponsorship, which also comes with some tickets, but recognizes the fact that I think we do want to sponsor this at some level. I think we do want to be a good neighbor with Olds College and continue to cooperate as much as possible. But I think that that we need to be prudent about how we use the funds as well.
Okay, well, would someone like to put a motion forward that we can discuss?
You know the difference.
Councillor Harris?
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Johnson, and I'll move that council sponsor the Olds College Dinner of Distinction at a bronze level for a total of $1,000.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion?
We would
Councillor
have
Johnson?
to have a separate decision then about who would use the 4 tickets. But I think that the bronze scholarship is a good middle ground.
Okay, thank you. So before we vote, there's no mention of the ability to purchase additional just tickets.
I think this request is from the college is dealing with the sponsorship side of things. I would anticipate they will have more tickets available for purchase when they roll out to the general public what the program
What
is
the
and
event is.
invite the general public to it. They have historically offered additional tickets. So if there are more than 4 counselors that wish to attend, that can be accommodated once we know that pricing.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any other comments? All right, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. You'll return to us information when you get some more information on additional tickets and timing and.
So I think there's 2 ways that could be handled. The council could address it now and say, pass a motion authorizing attendance of any other counselors, and then you'd have to maybe address whether spouses are attending or not. and provide that direction so that when it does come available, we can just administratively action it and order tickets for those that are interested. Or you can ask administration to bring it back when it's available and we'll make it a council agenda item and deal with it at a later date. Really, it's at council's discretion. From my perspective, it would be more efficient for you to pass a motion today saying authorizing attendance at what level. And then administratively, we'll just coordinate and organize any extra and additional tickets as needed.
Okay, comments? Councilor Harris?
Just a question, Jeff, for, if we buy additional tickets later, they don't come out of this $10,000 council budget, do they not?
It would probably come out of the council budget in general.
But not our grants?
Not your sponsorship. It would probably come out of your attendance portion of your.
So it's a
council
better
budget.
way of preserving money in the sponsorship pot.
I would think that could be accommodated.
Thank you.
Anyone have a desire to put a motion forward with potentially how to deal with additional tickets? If it's so interested, if any counselors are interested? Councilor Letts?
Yeah, I'd move that if counselors want to attend beyond the 4 seats, that the price of the ticket is covered in the general council budget. And I guess with that motion, I'm not including spouses.
Not including, okay. Everyone understand that, is it clear that if counselors are interested in attending, we can, arrangements will be made to get additional tickets, and if you wish to bring your spouse along, you would purchase that on your own? Councilor Krebs?
So does that mean we've actually taken our $1,000 sponsorship and made it a $3,000 sponsorship if we want to buy more tickets? I mean, we just voted to, or we're gonna vote to sponsor $1,000 worth, but now if more counselors want to go, we'll just throw more money at it. Whether it comes out of the sponsorship account or another account, it's still taxpayer money. So I would say that if more than 4 counselors want to go, you split the $1,000 up between 4 of them and they pay their 20% of the tickets.
You know, right now, we don't know what the value of an individual seat is, so.
But so $1,000, we get 4 seats. If 5 counselors want to go, then each person pays 20% of whatever the tickets are. Otherwise, we're not voting on $1,000 sponsorship. We're just open-ending the sponsorship.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be up to council. So right now, council has approved, passed the motion. We will get 4 tickets. And so we'll send that around to the 7 counselors. And if we have more counselors, that's what the second motion is looking at, whether we're going to pay for that from our council budgets or that's paid for personally, which I think is Councillor Krebs's recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess if you want a motion, I would say that we've got
There's a motion
We
on
already
the
have
floor.
the one motion on the floor.
for,
I made a motion that additional tickets, if additional counselors want to go, that it comes out of the general council budget is, I think, what I moved.
Without spouses.
if in discussion, are you guys clear what I'm saying about we've got 4 tickets, if 5 people want to go, you just share the money and split it may cost you $20 to go or whatever. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay, everyone's clear on the motion, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the land lease section will be dealt with after we have our closed session, so we'll move on to 9.7, the RMA resolution. Back to Christopher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was an item that stemmed from the District 2 RMA board meeting recently, where there was conversation around how each district is handling committee appointments to FCM and the expenses associated with any counselors that are appointed to FCM conferences. Currently within the District 2 terms of reference, all of those costs fall back on their respective municipality to pay for. And the request from the District 2 RMA board was that a resolution be generated, which would essentially across all of the districts in Alberta come up with a consistent basis on how that is being done, and that those expenses would be handled by the RMA. So the attached resolution has been provided for council's consideration. Mountain View County did state that we would be the ones that would put forward the resolution, and the MD of Bighorn has agreed to be the seconder for the resolution. As noted within the RFD, just because of the timelines for this council meeting, as well as the deadline for resolution submissions, the resolution has been submitted to the RMA. However, if council is looking for changes or is not in support of the resolution, then that resolution would be withdrawn at that point in time. So hopefully that provides you a good overview. We did reach out to each of the districts to try and understand how each of them are handling expenses right now. We unfortunately haven't heard back from all of the districts just due to the timelines, but we do know that there is some inconsistency between the way that District 2 is currently handling it and other districts throughout the province. So that's the information I have to present, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Councilor Harris.
Yeah, it's been a long discussion in the years that I was involved. And the problem is that smaller municipalities that may not have the economic strength, good people can't run for these positions because their municipality can't support them financially. And I think it's create a level playing field where we're looking for the best, most motivated people to represent us at FCM, and the greater organization pay because it's the greater organization that benefits from their work. So I think it's a good resolution.
Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Johnson.
I would move that council support the proposed resolution regarding funding for elected officials participating on FCM committees for the RMA Spring Conference as presented.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion? If not, call the question. All in favor? That is passed. Okay, I think we'll take 10 minutes here, 5 minutes, have a little recess, and then we'll come back with our councilor reports. Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll resume the regular council meeting of January 10th, 2024, and we are on section 10, council reports. Now we'll start with Councillor Harris.
Coming off the Christmas break, not a lot, but the open house out at Lone Pine was good. I thought it was well attended. Not as familiar with the folks in the area, but heard some good questions, heard some of the usual kind of off the wall stuff. There's a few people that are still tainted by some of the stuff was in the news, but I thought planning and administration handled those questions very well. South McDougall area structure plan meeting yesterday, and that's rapidly coming to a close where it should in the not too near distant future come forward to council, and that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Lutz.
Yeah, I attended the land use open house too, and I have been really trying to promote the opportunity to provide feedback. I know the deadline is February 5th. It's just such an important document, and people, it is their opportunity to let us know if the policies are working or if there's tweaks. So I hope people take advantage of that. And it was good to hear the feedback that we got from our residents. And I was so happy to see, I guess there's probably what, 45, 50 people ish. And I thought that was really a good turnout, and not just from division, the Eastern divisions, but we had some folks travel out to it. So I thought that was good, and administration did a really good job. I also just wanted to provide a bit of an update that I was in contact with Alberta Environment and Parks on the air monitoring by Highway 2 and 27 overpass. Their monitors technicians come from Edmonton, and so they were trying to find out when there was operations happening so they could do, they're doing canister monitoring right now for orders. So that was during the Christmas break. So just to provide you a bit of an update that they're still doing monitoring, not so much on particulate matter anymore, but specific to orders. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Miller.
So yeah, coming off of Christmas holidays, I was able to, like the others, attend our land use bylaw presentation out at Lone Pine. And again, it was great to see the amount of turnout that we had, considering the night was a little cooler as the weather's changing here. There were good questions put on and answered by our administration. It was good to see renewables was touched on. And then some of the questions that were asked by the participants, I think was good to see. So that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. I thought that the Lone Pine Open House was really good. I was very happy to see how engaged people were. I thought that it was really worthwhile, and was really happy to see that people are engaged with what we're doing. The only other meetings I've attended are 2 Zoom meetings with the Red Deer River Watershed Alliance, where we are doing some planning for the spring forum, and you'll learn more about that right away. Some really good stuff going on, some real concern about what might be a drought summer for sure. So that's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Krebs.
Yeah, I don't too much to add, but maybe a quick shout out to the planning department. That 72-hour house build that I told you guys about before Christmas went off, and they sent out kudos to planning, because they kind of pushed maybe the rules a little bit to get them a development permit in time to allow them to build this house. So just didn't know if planning saw that. Thank you or not.
Very good, thank you. Other than the land use open use, the open house at Lone Pine the other night, I attended with the Reeve, the CRMA directors meeting, and I just had it here. Just give me 1 second. So Larry Clark is now the chairperson. Barb Shepherd is vice chair. Lisa Rosevold, Jackie Watts, Greg Belkey, and Greg Harris are our resolutions committee. And then the resolution came forward that we just approved today. And then the meeting is scheduled for February 2nd. So the general meeting. So And that is all that has happened since Christmas. So entertain a motion to receive all the council reports as information. Councillor Johnson,
So moved.
thank you. All in favor? And we'll move on to correspondence items. 11.1, got 3 contact newsletters and a letter from the SRDRWC. Any questions or comments about any of the enclosed information items? If not, I'd entertain a motion to receive those as information. Councillor Lutz,
So moved.
thank you. Sorry, all in favor? Carried. All right. We have our first delegation ahead of time, Karen Fahrlander, to come forward and we'll do your presentation. And just while you're settling in, we'll do a round of introductions, starting with Christopher.
Good morning, I'm Chris Ratchett. I'm Director of Legislative, Community and Agricultural Services.
Good morning, Margareta Bloom, Director for Planning and Development Services.
Hi, Karen. Jeff Holmes, Chief Administrative Officer.
Hi.
Morning, Greg Harris, Division 2 Counselor. That's the Water Valley Cremona area.
Good morning. Thanks for coming. Jennifer Letts, Division 7. So that's Olds and surrounding area to the east.
Good morning, Alan Miller, Division 3 Counselor, Didsbury East to Nehill.
Morning, Dwayne Fulton, Division 1, so around Carstairs, Rocky View to Nehill.
Good morning, Karen. Welcome. Karen and I both now sit on the board for the Red Deer River Watershed Alliance. So we have been working, doing some things together. So thank you for being here today, Karen.
Morning, Karen. Gord Krebs.
I'd like to extend a very happy new year to council and staff. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity to share what I've learned and observed in areas around not just Mountain View County, but Alberta regarding wetlands and beavers. Okay, we'll get started right away. This is an infographic that shows how important beavers are. They're known as a keystone species. Once they establish an area, other species will follow. So I'm just going to give you a second to read through it. I'm not going to read it for you. I think the print is large enough, so you can go ahead and look and see how important beavers are and wetlands are. They're known as climate superheroes. And with the impending drought that we're facing and more wildfires, beavers can also help mitigate droughts and wildfires. And here's what wetlands will also do. I have a video here, but just to save time, I'm just going to leave it for now. We'll move ahead to beaver basics, just a little bit of information about what an amazing creature they are. They have tiny valves in their ears and nostrils to allow them to be very proficient swimmers. They even have eyes that are specially adapted to swimming in the water. Their mouth, the flaps keep out water from their lungs. Their orange teeth are made of iron and they're always growing. Feet are webbed to allow for digging. Their tail operates like a propeller in the water and a prop on the land. An adult beaver can weigh 24 to 71 pounds, depending on how much food they're able to access. And they have a thick, oily, waterproof fur. Again, very adaptable to the water. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Mom and dad come together to make a family. They're monogamous pairs. They create colonies with 6 to 7 in each colony. They can have up to 3 generations in a family, including parents, yearlings, and kits. They breed in between January and February. Gestation is 3.5 months, and they deliver 2 to 4 young. Lifespan in the wild is approximately 12 years and possibly longer. It's very difficult to tell the difference between a female and a male because they have internal sex organs. Predators include bears, wolves, cougars, and the biggest predator, of course, is humans. And that's why I'm here today, to help us learn how to coexist with them. Basics: they live in a lodge, build dams that create wetlands. They're herbivores, which means they eat the inner bark of trees. Their favorite trees include aspen, willow, birch, cottonwood. They also enjoy aquatic plants like cattails and water lilies. Using their nimble front paws, beavers will roll lily pads like cigars to eat them. They're social, curious, hardworking, and they can hold their breath for approximately 15 minutes. They have an evolutionary need to dam running water. And that's what they listen for, is the sound of running water. How awesome are beavers? They keep fresh water on the land. It's a great way to protect and prevent forest fires. Their wetlands support biodiversity, including 43% of our endangered species. They help increase salmon populations. They help forests and plants grow. They maintain stream and river flow. Their tree chewing ability helps stimulate new growth each spring. In a recent peer-reviewed study, scientists have valued the beaver's environmental services at $179,000 USD per square mile annually. That's quite an awesome set of statistics that show how important beavers are. And more closer to home, once upon a pond, I call this. Once vibrant and thriving, this pond was bustling with many creatures. Our local Sundry Camera Club has visited this pond numerous times over the years. Neighbors would look to see what species were living in there from time to time. And we really had a source of peace and contentment when this pond was active and full of creatures. And then a trapper came by and trapped out the beavers. Here's what happens. Here's some of the species that I photographed in that pond. Full of life, just incredible biodiversity. Not just birds, but mammals too depend on wetland areas, and they were photographed close to the pond as well. Here's what happens to the pond once the beavers were trapped out. The thriving, vibrant ecosystem was reduced to this. The value of beavers in an area cannot be underestimated. With increasing pressures from climate change, industrial activity, and recreational activity, beavers offer a solution toward maintaining healthy ecosystems and thriving biodiversity. And here's an infographic about what riparian areas do. They trap and store sediment, build and maintain banks and shorelines, store water and energy, recharge aquifers, reduce and dissipate energy, and create primary productivity. Threats to wetlands. As I drive around a couple of times a week in search of wildlife, I've noticed some of the county trucks parked and extracting water out of wetland areas and small creeks for the purpose of dust control. I've talked to my neighbors about this, and we've all agreed that we would much rather see a healthy wetland, and we'll put up with the dust. So I'm asking you if this can be maybe curtailed in the face of drought that we're heading into, and just maybe look at things in a different way. Because once that water is extracted, it's extracting millions of microscopic creatures and organisms that form the foundation of the food chain. So it's really healthy. It's fundamental to the wetland to have those small microorganisms there. And not only have I seen the trucks do that, like the big truck on the left, but people pull up with their Their water containers on a flatbed, and they're also extracting water. And nearby, in Nichi Valley, we have a little creek that runs by our place that's watered our cattle for over 50 years. It dried up for the first time 2 years ago. And it doesn't help when people nearby don't respect the banks of this little creek, and also allow their cattle to poke holes along the creek. And we're not sure if it's even going to flow this year. So it's definitely a concern. And that's the little creek. The flow has been reduced to 30% of what it once was. Bear Creek. And then I also have seen an increase in hydraulic fracking and the use of, used to be flat lines that I saw along the ditches in Mountain View County, and that has been replaced by larger hoses along the sides of the ditches. And I realize this is not under your jurisdiction. It's more of a provincial responsibility. However, I'm hoping that working together, we can come to some kind of agreement or protection to protect wetlands and small streams, because I think we're at a place where it really needs that. Over the last 4 years in particular, I've seen an increase in this type of extraction from the wetlands and the small streams. And it's very concerning because, of course, once that wetland is dried up, then we don't have the biodiversity that could be there or that once was there. And on a beautiful summer morning last August, I drove to one of my favorite wetlands in Mountain View County in search of wildlife to photograph. I stopped to observe a great blue heron as he was patiently catching tiny fish. I glanced up and I saw a sign which read, "Danger, trapping in progress." My heart fell. This is what prompted me to bring this issue of trapping beavers and importance of wetlands to your attention. I fear for the future of this pond, just like the one I referred to earlier. Ponds that were once filled with wildlife are drying up. And this is the pond on the Amarata Road. On one side of the pond, it has a little bit more protection from natural willows and other grasses. But on the other side of the road, it is completely dried up. And that just happened this last spring and summer. So we have pond levelers to try to encourage people to use to help beavers and people coexist together. And this is also a video. I don't know if I'm running out of time. Don't know whether you want to see it. I'd also like to refer you to Lauren Fitch's. He is the co-founder of the Cows and Fish organization. He has produced an excellent publication. And he asks the question, have we overlooked a natural ally in our efforts to conserve and manage water? And his answer is yes. Consider the beaver, a species that has survived through huge climatic variation. Nature has given beaver a AAA rating for water storage, biodiversity maintenance, and climate change adaptation. Beavers truly are ecological superheroes. So under the Cows and Fish organization, his publication outlines pond levelers and different kinds used in different circumstances. So I would like to refer you to that. And I don't know whether I have time for the video. So challenges ahead is part of his publication include population resistance. This comes from, I think, awareness with people in our area, letting them know that pond levelers exist and creating areas where, and maybe workshops where they could be exposed to pond levelers and how they actually can function to achieve coexistence. So that's a challenge. Landscape resistance, there could be some landscape resistance where the pond levelers may work, but there's other options available. This is part of his publication, and I'd invite you to check that out. Lauren has spent many years researching this topic. And in conclusion, I'd like to say that I'm very excited to announce that over the last few months, I've been working with Laura Lee Gradage. Actually, I've met with Laura Lee and she's given me tons of information and contacts toward putting together a workshop for people. Also, we are starting with the Red Deer River Watershed Alliance Spring Forum, which will be held in Sundre. It's important, I think, to have it in Sundre because Sundre is surrounded by water. We have the headwaters of the Red Deer River starting in Banff National Park, of course, but all of those tributaries that flow through Sundre invite us to look at water, hopefully in a new protective way rather than taking it for granted. So on March the 8th, Sundre will be hosting the Red Deer River Watershed Spring Forum, and I invite you to attend. There will be speakers there from across Alberta, and we'll be there sharing ideas and working toward protecting our watershed. Then, in conjunction with the Spring Forum, I would also like to let you know that we are having a second event, which is going to be on May 2nd and 3rd in Sundre, and it will be an event where watershed partners are invited to set up a table in the community center. And again, collaboration is the key. Students will be involved in the first day of this event, and on the second day, the public are invited to attend, and there will be interactive displays and hopefully lots of chances for engagement from the public. And that's what I would like to, that's what I'm working on. And I'd just like to close by saying, together our actions do make a difference. I believe we can work toward achieving sustainable watersheds where biodiversity thrives. And I hope you will support me in this endeavor. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you very much, Karen. Questions from council, comments? Councillor Johnson?
Karen, thanks. Your presentation was excellent. Have you seen these pond levelers in how do they work? I'm trying to understand how they work.
Well, it depends on what kind you're looking at. I've studied them myself, and they do have some set up in Airdrie, for example, and there's a couple around Eckville area. And depending on what the area is that needs the pond leveler, they have a variety available. And Lauren Fitch's publication has them described in a better way than I'm doing right now. So if I could refer you to that, it's under the Cows and Fish publication where they are.
Okay,
And there's videos out about them too, so you can look at them there as well.
Okay.
I also am going to invite an organization from Southern Alberta called La Batula, and they actually build pond levelers. And so they would be at the May 2nd and 3rd event so that people can see them in action. And if I can't get them to attend, then I'm just going to keep searching for someone who has them available, because I think it's important for the public to see them with their own eyes so they can understand how they work.
Okay. In us trying to protect Mountain View County infrastructure, roads and things, do we use pond levelers?
I don't know of any that we have in place, Councillor Johnson. About have to double check with operational services on that.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions, comments? Councillor Krebs?
Thanks, Karen. That was awesome. I just want to give Peggy I think the Ag Service Board sent a tour out to Clearwater County, and they had a couple of these pond levelers in action. It would have been early in 2022 that we went there. Laura Lee set it up. So that might be another option to check into if you want to go have a look at them. Or maybe you can even get a video of them to show at your meeting.
Okay, sure.
Any other questions, comments? No, I guess that's the end of the questions. So thank you very much
Okay,
for
thank you.
coming in today in the cold weather. So. Yeah, you can just leave them with Laura there and then she'll pass them out. Our next delegation isn't, oh, sorry, yes, need a motion, yes, thank you.
I'll move the council receive the wildlife presentation as information and no further action to be taken.
Thank you.
Can we amend, Alan, the idea of no further action be taken? I think it would be useful for us to consider pond levelers if we're not using them now. So I don't know that we need to request anything of administration, but I think that it would be interesting for us to learn a little bit more about them. And see if there's an application. I mean, if we can save our roads and cohabitate with the beaver, I think that's in everybody's best interest.
So Peg, could that not just be, would that need to be a part of a motion though to direct administration for this, or can we not just check that out on their own?
You're right. We can just check that out. Thank you. We can bring it forward if there's anything we need to in the future.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? That is carried. All right, the next delegation is until 1, so we will move into our closed session. So if I could have a motion. Councillor Lutz,
Would we move into closed session?
thank you. All in favor? That's carried. So can I do this? Am I supposed to do this little blurb part? So now that council has made the motion to go into closed session, council has moved into closed session, which it will end the public broadcast. Any motions made following the in-camera sessions will be captured within the council's meeting minutes, which can be found on the county's website within the next few days. Thank you for tuning in.